Hey, I'm Kimberly, and I just turned 29. A while ago, I made the naive decision to marry a man who came with a whole heap of problems. I truly believed love could solve everything. I thought I could be the one to show him how valuable he was. But I was wrong. While love is a powerful force, it's not a magic wand that can make someone believe in their own worth. My ex, let's call him Joseph, was obsessed with gaining his parents' approval, but not in the usual "I want to make them proud" way. His need for validation was all-consuming, guiding every decision he made, as if his self-worth depended entirely on their approval. And his parents, Mr. and Mrs. Ellis, were the kind of parents who, despite having a child, remained distant and disengaged from his life. It left Joseph desperate for any scrap of attention or recognition they'd offer. I quickly realized that no amount of love from me could fill the emptiness left by their neglect. To make matters worse, Joseph had this terrible habit of spending our savings on extravagant gifts, vacations, and luxuries for his parents. Our hard-earned money seemed to flow directly into their pockets, and it was deeply frustrating for me. This reckless spending became a constant source of tension. It felt like I was competing with his parents for his attention, and it was draining our marriage. Despite the constant arguments, my feelings for Joseph remained steady. I hoped, somehow, he'd break free of their expectations and learn to find happiness within himself. But it soon became clear that my love alone couldn't undo the damage of years of seeking their approval. And then, one day, Joseph dropped a bombshell. He came to me with a serious expression, as if he were about to share something monumental. Given our history, I braced myself for whatever was coming, knowing it would probably lead to another fight. I had no idea how big this one would be. "Kimberly, there's something important I need to tell you," he said, his tone serious. "What's going on?" I asked, already preparing myself for the worst. "It's about my parents. They're retiring soon, and I've been thinking about surprising them with a luxury vacation. It'll be pretty expensive," he said, his words a mixture of excitement and nervousness. "That sounds lovely, but as long as the money's coming from your personal savings, I really don't want to dip into ours again," I replied, hoping to avoid another financial argument. "I don't have enough saved up. I was hoping to use some of our savings," he admitted, his eyes filled with a mix of hope and anxiety. "Joseph, if it's more than we can comfortably afford, maybe we should rethink it," I suggested gently, trying to ground him in reality. But he quickly snapped. "You don't get it, Kimberly. I love my parents, and I want to do something extraordinary for them. Love isn't about counting every penny, it's about grand gestures," he shot back, his voice rising with frustration. I tried to remain calm, but love is also about being there for each other, making sacrifices together. This trip might mean a lot to them, but we can't ignore our own future. Joseph's reaction was immediate. "I have to do this for them. I thought you, of all people, would understand. They mean everything to me." "And you mean everything to me, Joseph, but we can't keep draining our savings on this kind of thing. We have to be practical," I said, hoping he'd see reason. He accused me of being selfish, unable to understand the depth of his love for his parents. "It's not about being selfish, Joseph, it's about being sensible." I remained calm, but my mind was fully alert, prepared to steer this conversation on my terms. "All right, Joseph, you've got my attention for now. What's this danger you're in? And just to be clear, don't think for a second that I'm going to swoop in and play the hero. I'm done cleaning up after your messes," I said, my tone firm, but not hostile. Joseph exhaled shakily, his face torn between regret and desperation. His expression was almost pitiful, but I steeled myself against any attempt to manipulate my emotions. "I know I've messed up before, Kimberly, but this is different. I've gotten involved with some really bad people. I owe them a lot of money, and they're not the kind to wait around," he admitted, his voice low. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow, unable to suppress my skepticism. "Really, Joseph? Dangerous people? Are we going down this road again, with the same dramatic stories about imaginary enemies?" My disbelief was clear. Joseph's face tightened with frustration, as if he expected me to be more sympathetic. "This is real, Kimberly," he insisted, his voice pleading. "I'm in deep trouble, and I don't know where else to turn." I took a deep breath, trying to keep my composure as I asked, "So, you spiraled after our divorce, got yourself into debt, and now it's about some extravagant trip, right?" I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. The tension between us was palpable, and a few curious patrons looked our way. I shot them a quick, apologetic glance, but didn't back down. Yeah, I got caught up in some foolishness, but now it's bigger than I can handle, Joseph admitted, looking defeated. How much are we talking? I asked, already bracing myself for another bombshell. $45,000, he said, his eyes avoiding mine. $45,000? I blurted, my voice rising louder than I intended. Several people in the cafe turned to stare. This time, I didn't apologize. Anyone would be as shocked as I was. Please, Kimberly, I'm begging you, I don't know what else to do, Joseph pleaded, his eyes wet with unshed tears, a sincerity there that I almost recognized. It reminded me of the man I once loved, but those days were over, my patience had worn thin. Don't try to tug at my heartstrings, Joseph, you've done this too many times. When you asked for help before, I might have considered it, but now, no, I can't, and I won't. You've gone too far, I said, my voice sharp with disbelief. Joseph broke down in front of me, tears flowing freely, his sobs loud enough to make those nearby uncomfortable. I sighed, looking around. I didn't want to be the center of a scene, but I couldn't ignore the gravity of the situation either. Joseph, get a grip. This isn't the time or place for a breakdown. What will happen if you don't pay this back? I asked, trying to understand the extent of his predicament. They're threatening to hurt me, Kimberly. I'm not joking, it's really bad, he said, almost pleading with his eyes. I paused, the seriousness of his words starting to sink in. Okay, start from the beginning, tell me everything, I said, more calmly than I felt. He explained how he had borrowed money to fund a lavish vacation for his parents, only for the friend he trusted to back out. Now, he was in debt to people who didn't care for his excuses. The more he spoke, the more my frustration built, tempered by the bitter irony of it all. So let me get this straight, you borrowed money from dangerous people to impress your parents, and now they're ignoring you? I asked, incredulous. Joseph's eyes welled up again as he nodded, confirming the bitter reality. They went on the trip, and it's like I don't exist to them anymore, he admitted, the remorse in his voice unmistakable. I felt a brief twinge of sympathy, but quickly suppressed it. This was his mess, and he had to face the consequences. You've really dug yourself into a hole, haven't you? I said, pausing to let it sink in. I warned you, I told you it wasn't a smart move. You chose